We now continue with the group 4 pieces, and this is concerned with the aspect of skipping over a note. Skipping over a note is basically skipping a white key. So we're going from this note C to the note E, skipping over the note D. When this happens, then we start looking closely at line to line or space to space when we do the left hand in the bass. Right, we see now skipping from the treble middle C to the middle E is going from the line, the ledger line, to the bottom staff line for the note E. We're looking now at C's and E's going up and down and returning back to the C again. And I call this particular reversal a loop, a pattern where you go up or down and back to the starting note. And here I've written out this loop in our 4 articulations that we've studied so far. The detached playing, the legato with the curved line, the staccato with the dots, the slurred articulation with the legato with the staccato at the end of it. Okay, so we have now these 4 articulations: the relaxed, wrist curve, detached, the legato, the staccato, and the slur. Each one finishing with a spring action rest. Okay, so we go to the first song with skipping is tic-tac-toe. Tic-tac-toe, my first go, 3 red balls all in a row. Throw one up, throw one down, throw one on the poor man's crown. Jerry Hall was so small, rats would eat him hat and all. There's that legato loop at the end. Here's a staccato looping bouncing ball. Bouncing ball, bounce so high, watch it bounce to the sky. Now we do the same with the left hand. Left hand in the bass now reverses the line to line skipping, and now we have space to space. So here we have the group 5 bass pieces, the C to E skipping from the space C to the space E, virtually the 2 middle spaces in the staff line, and we have the 4 articulated loops, these very short loops doing C to E and back to C again. Right, the 4 articulations with the skipping loop: the relaxed wrist curve, the legato, staccato, the slur. So tic-tac-toe, tic-tac-toe, my first go, 3 red balls all in a row. Throw one up, throw one down, throw one on the old man's crown. Jerry Hall was so small, rats could eat him hat and all. And bouncing ball, bounce so high, watch it bounce to the sky. So we've covered the skipping in both the right hand and the left hand, and now we just combine from one hand to the other, treble, and then the bass. I am 6 feet high, I am 6 feet high, maybe I can fly, better get some wings, or try other things. 16 fat green frogs. 16 fat green frogs, sitting on their logs, round and round the pool, keeping very then the nasty octave, playing them both together at the same time. Jerry was so small, rats could eat him hat and ball. Jerry was so small, he came back and threw them all. Bouncing ball, bouncing ball, bounce so high, watch it bounce to the sky. And they were the group 7 ones. In fact, one more, tic-tac-toe. Tic-tac-toe, my first go, 3 red balls all in a row. Throw one up, throw one down, throw one on the old man's ground. The aspect of timing, as in tempo, how fast you play, is really a personal choice. It's a development. It relies on the student's ability to be able to play faster. It's a preference, and some students prefer to play the pieces slower as opposed to going faster. We go on to group 8, and now we start looking at a note that we've been doing, but it's slightly different. Well, this note is the minim. We've done minims. But we did the minim as a dotted minim. We did 4 wristbends and the spring action rest. Now we do the minim without the dot, and it's actually a 2-beat duration. 1 beat more than a crotchet. To do the minim, we've got 2 ways of keeping it in time. We've got the external beat, tapping, nodding, counting, using a metronome, or the internal wristbending. So I'll start with the internal wristbending that we've been doing with dotted minims. We're looking at the minim without the dot, but before we do that, let's just go over the dotted minim. 4 wristbends, and the 4th wristbend had the detached, the spring action crotchet rest. 1, 2, 3, and then we came off. But now we're going to combine one minim with another minim. Each one gets 2 wristbends. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? And this is Sticky Honey. We'll do the right hand first. Sticky honey. When it's hot, it's runny. Then the spring action rest at the end. The left hand will do the same, and sticky honey. Then the 2 come together. Sticky honey. When that was the internal beat, feeling the beat with the fingers, wristbending. The external beat is when you actually feel it outside of the fingers, outside of the hand. Tapping the foot, nodding your head, having a metronome clicking along to keep yourself in time. You'll notice while I've got the external beat, I'm actually doing the internal one as well. If you're an external beat feeler, you don't necessarily have to move the wrist and do the wrist bending. You can just feel it. But I think once you get into the swing of feeling the beat internally, and you have an external feeling as well, they tend to all go together, and the whole body now feels the beat. One more of these songs that I've written, Fred the Donkey. This is Fred the Donkey, he is very wonky. Up by me, Emilio. They're written in a particular way. They're pedagogic pieces. They're written for the development of technique, for the musical aspect, and they're written in an orderly fashion. The next stage introduces traditional music, children's pieces, songs that we've heard before. We haven't read the music, we haven't seen it, a lot of times we've just heard. It was sung as maybe as a lullaby, the parents might have sung you to sleep, you might have heard this at school for the first time, on television, on CDs, recording systems. These are traditional songs that are traditionally passed on, usually by ear, and most of them don't have composers. They were never written down, they were just passed on. Group 9 starts with the first traditional song, Hot Cross Buns, quite well known because it's based on just 3 notes. Interestingly enough, Hot Cross Buns and the next popular traditional song, Mary Had a Little Lamb, both start with the note E instead of the usual starting on the note C, the first note of the scale called the tonic. Hot Cross Buns mixes minims with dotted minims as well. So we have the 2 rhythms, 2 wristbands on the minim and 4 with the spring action rest on the dotted minim. Hot Cross Buns. Hot Cross Buns. Hot Cross Buns. 1 ding ding 2 pop ding ding. Hot Cross Buns. To do Mary Had a Little Lamb, I now start invoking this micro-study again that we've looked at before, this repeating pattern for learning. This micro-study is taking your scale, starting on the E, going down and then back up again, and reversing immediately. And for some students, they need to go over this a few times. Up till now, the scale has been in one direction. It's either come down, then there's been a rest, and then it's come back up again. But when it has to turn around all of a sudden, it requires a little bit more thinking. When the left hand has to do it as well, together, it also requires some thinking. And the repetition is as many times as you need, and then get faster and faster. So Mary Had a Little Lamb will have this micro-study part in it. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, fleece was white as snow. Now some of you might say, well, that's not quite how Mary Had a Little Lamb goes. That sounds right, but this bit here. Okay, well, we're not up to that note just yet, and the next bit, had a little lamb, its fleece was white. So it's is a bit intrusive. To put the extra note in requires also a bit of thinking. So this is a modified version of Mary Had a Little Lamb. The next micro study just reverses the one we just did, and this is back into mainstream learning in my method, that most of the pieces will start off with C. So the